Park. And we're talking about something really cool. There's some interesting birds that are frequenting Northeast Ohio, and you don't typically see them a lot, such as the snowy owl. You're in luck today because we're talking with Jen Brumfield. She's a naturalist with the Cleveland Metro Parks. Let me flip the camera around so you can meet her. And actually, as we speak, hey Jen.
Hi, good to see you.
Let's tell everybody what we're seeing out on the ice. I wish we could zoom in a little bit more, but there's actually all kinds of birds out there. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, even though we're in this is deep freeze, I know it's going to be 50-some degrees coming up here soon, which is great, but we're still have this ice shelf sitting off of Edgewater Park right now. As soon as we rolled up, I got the spotting scope out and binoculars, and multiple bald eagles, a peregrine falcon, and at least one snowy owl are hanging out on the ice shelf. Now, the snowy owl is from the far north, and snowy owls have come down into this area this winter in larger numbers than they usually do. So this is a rare phenomenon that we're enjoying here. Lots of folks getting out to see these birds up close or at a distance through binoculars and spotting scopes.
That's one thing that I wanted to touch on. How common is it for folks to see it? I mean, for example, as we just mentioned, there's a few on the ice. You can't, there's no way you can see, but there's one. How many yards would you say out there?
At least a good half mile out on the ice. The ice shelf extends to about a mile offshore at this location. And so through the spotting scope, it looks rather close, but the bird is sitting at least a half a mile out offshore on the ice shelf.
And there's also a few eagles, and hopefully if we see another one, I'll pan up quickly so you can see it. But how common is it for people to see? I mean, is it a long shot for you to be walking through a park and see
Right.
one?
You know, this would be the best year possible for you to give it a try, to come down to the lakefront, look at docks in marinas, scan the light posts around, look out on the piers, look out on the rocky breakwalls around us. Multiple folks coming down fishing, coming down with the family to just, check out the lake, sightseeing, taking photos of the beautiful scenery here on the lakefront. Have actually seen these snowy owls multiple times during their visits down here. So the best way to get a look is to come on a Cleveland Metro Parks bird walk, which we do host here on the lakefront. But coming down yourself to check some of these locations routinely, you may luck out and have one close up. Right near shore.
Where do they come from, and why are they coming to Northeast Ohio?
Right, it's a great question. A lot of folks say, well, what are they doing here? Snowy owls are an owl of the far north, so they nest high up on the high Arctic, on the tundra, so just miles upon miles of flat open grass. Now, if snowy owls have had a good nesting year with many young birds, those young birds come wintertime are kicked out. They're booted out. The adults stay further to the north and guard their winter territories, and the young birds have to move south to find winter territories of them, for themselves. And so this late fall and into the winter, we had many snowy owls move down to the Cleveland lakefront, some to the Chicago lakefront, some to Niagara Falls region, Erie, Pennsylvania. So this is a Great Lakes thing, and right here in Cleveland, we're enjoying this phenomenon as well.
That's so cool. When we're looking through your binoculars, I wish we could show the folks, but it almost looked gray. Was it gray with white?
That's a great question. So the individual bird that we're looking at out towards the lighthouse. So even if you can't see it in the Facebook Live, the lighthouse sitting off the Greater Cleveland Harbor, right off of Wendy Park, the bird is sitting on the ice just in front of that. And it is a young bird. It's an immature, a juvenile, and so it's heavily barred or striped with black. It won't be until it matures that it will become more and more pure white.
Right. And why do they sit on the ice? Because a little bit earlier, before we started our live, there was a few bald eagles, there was a falcon, and then there was a couple snowy owls. What do they like about being on the ice?
Yeah, you would think that birds would not sit on the ice, so it's counterintuitive to say what humans would do. We try to stay off the ice, we try to stay warm as possible. These conditions do not bother these birds, so these large raptors, like snowy owl and bald eagle, peregrine falcon, the way that blood moves through their system, their feet don't freeze to ice, and they don't feel that cold as we do. It's not the same type of cold. They sit offshore on these ice floes and ice shelves because they're looking for food.
Okay.
And
what
so,
kind of food?
yeah, the eagles are actually hunting fish right at the edge of the ice shelf. The peregrine falcons are hunting gulls that come to look for fish at the edge of the ice shelf. And the snowy owl or owls are hanging out here waiting for dusk to fall. They will hunt for gulls and ducks once night falls. So they hang out on the ice shelf or the breakwalls or in the marinas, and then they will hunt at night.
There's a lot of people wondering where the birds are, and I'm so sorry. They are too far for you to see them, but if any of the eagles fly overhead, you better believe I will
That's
stand
right.
up and show you.
We're waiting. Yeah, there's at least 3 bald eagles that we've seen so far, further out on the ice shelf. I wish you were all here. You could all line up and look in the telescope. If we had a closer snowy owl, we would try to show that. But this one, unfortunately, is a little bit further out.
Right. So again, if you're just joining us, we are at Edgewater Park, the lower portion of it, where we're talking about a really cool thing. There's some rare birds frequenting Northeast Ohio, such as the snowy owl, and a lot of you are writing in saying that you've seen them. There's one way out yonder. You said a couple miles, correct?
At least a half a mile.
That you're able to see through binoculars, but unfortunately not through my iPhone. But we're happy to take questions, and we'll certainly have a lot more information on fox8.com, including some cool pictures that I think that people have taken in the metro park.
There have been phenomenal photos taken this year of snowy owls sitting on the breakwalls, sitting on the marina docks, sitting on piers, and so those hopefully will be available for you to see. Just stunning photos. Earlier in the season, before we saw this freeze up, a couple of nature photographers were actually able to get out on a boat and see some of these birds up close while they were sitting right on the breakwalls.
So that's really cool. We mentioned that folks might come out here and see it on the ice because of the birds looking for food. What about like through some of your park systems, like the Rocky River Reservation? Would they ever be through there?
So Rocky River Nature Center sits down in the valley. We are actually too much vegetation around. These birds need open space. They prefer, bizarrely enough, they want the Arctic tundra feel, and we've got the Arctic tundra feel right in front of us here. Hopkins Airport, Burke Lakefront Airport, the lakefront provides exactly what snowy owls are looking for, that open space, the type of food that they're looking for: mice, voles, gulls, and waterfowl. So if folks are looking for an opportunity to join Cleveland Metro Parks naturalist, look for programming along the lakefront between Wendy Park and Edgewater. And we will always be looking for those snowy owls, especially this winter, since they're moving down in larger numbers.
Do you get a lot of residents and people just saying they've seen these birds around the area?
We do. You know, the great thing is that once you put out the information that these birds are being spotted, many folks will chime in. Folks from the police force, people that drive for the RTA, folks that are out fishing, families that are coming to look at the lakefront. They'll say, we had one of those. We've even had some reports come out of Parma and out of Euclid of snowy owls sitting on top of their neighbors' houses. So those birds have moved down through the region, and they're looking for good habitat. So we love it when people report their sightings. It really does help. You know, citizen science is a wonderful thing.
Right.
You know, call us with your reports. Tell us what you have seen. That information is not only just shared, but it's also stored so that we can really look at the appearance of these birds. You know, it's great data.
We were talking a little bit about how the snowy owl isn't the only one that isn't native to Northeast Ohio that have frequenting the area. What other birds that are sort of rare to this area?
So that's the neat thing, is here living on the lakefront in Cleveland, we are actually spoiled, believe it or not. A lot of folks don't think that, but we are spoiled when it comes to the natural world. Here we have this remarkable Great Lake. We have incredible lakefront habitat, and we are in position on Lake Erie to see some really rare birds that come down into our region all throughout the year, not just in winter, spring migration, fall migration, and winter. So snowy owls being rare to the area, There's also other rare species of birds that show up. On December 20th,